Good morning, everyone. Thank you. It's a great honor to speak in front of you for us. So we are first time part of the Things conference. And it is a great honor to join this great event. And hopefully you enjoy it and have a great time. I'm here today to talk to you about production time, and pre-developed solutions we have in our product portfolio. First, then I will talk a little bit about our background, that you become an idea who we are and what we are doing. The title of my presentation sounds big and challenging, but we really did that, and I will show you later on an example what we already did. Then I will explain why you should design a custom product, because we are based in Switzerland, and we are good in making custom-specific devices which fits exactly for your need. And that's very important and can give you a special market advantage for your product if you go like that. First, let's talk a little bit about our company. So we are 30 years in the market again, so we are not a startup. We have 30 years of experience in designing electronics. 3 years ago, we joined the LoRa Alliance because we see a big issue about the LoRa and a big challenge and a big advantage to go with that. We are acting as a small company, but we also can do big because we have 2 sister companies. They do even the production of a big amount of data. Let's come to a big issue, time to market. I think everybody knows. It's very important that you can go fast to the market, especially in the IoT field. It's very challenging that you have a fast solution and you can save you time to do that. So a lot of our customers, they know ready-to-use platform, and you are really fast in the market, you have out-of-the-box solution, but it's not a solution you can really roll out in mass. So then you have to come to an end product, you have to industrialize that, and I'm talking about what does it mean and what you have to take care of that. If you're starting with a platform, you test it, and then you go to a series and mass production. What do you need? Important is what do you need for production? So we always have big discussion with customers, especially coming from the software field. They have no idea of what does that mean if you're doing hardware, what have you to do with that. One important thing is the lead time of components. So a title of presentation is 12 weeks, we do 5,000 pieces. I mean, we have to source the components. And everybody knows it's really critical today because the lead time of components are really, really long. And even I learned last year for standard components, like the chicken food, we call it in the electronics, is critical. So you have to choose the right components which are available on the market that you can do a massive and fast rollout. Next, what need time of do is certifications. If you do a custom product, you need all the certification you have to do. And you need the production concept, because you need a lot to think of if you're starting to roll out your product. So how you would manufacture it, how you would test it, how we would roll out, how is the packaging, how is the whole scenario. And of course, a risk is if you do really fast ramp up of your product, you have no experience in the field. You need time for that. And last but not least, you have to take care of your WEEE and BAG fees. You have to pay if you do or roll out an electronic device in the market. You have to pay the waste fees, of course. And that need time to register your brand and your device at the end. Let's have a dive into the development. What does it mean and how we can improve the time? I think everybody knows, or I think there are many engineers here, there's kind of serial data communication and parallel data communication. And of course, parallel data communication does really more or improve the speed in time to market. But how we can do that in the engineering process, because maybe you know the V model, classical development model, you have to take step by step until you come to a final product. And I will explain how we can improve this time to that. First, let me show you how is the development process in general. How does it work and how we come to end product, just to show you the steps needed until you are a real final product. So first of that, you start with an idea. So you have an idea of a use case, a product, you like to test that. Then you will go further, you have a concept, you have more detail on that. You do some analysis, you make some business model and you see, oh, it could fit. Then you go even deeper in it. You make some definitions, like how the product should use, how it should look like, special definitions of that. And then you can really start with the development. So it means you have really huge steps you have to do until you really can do the work, because you have to be sure that it's real. And then you have some prototypes on your table, and you will set up, and everything is running perfectly. Then you start with industrialization. It means you have to set up test engineering, you do pilot series, you do planning the ramp up, and do the approvals and certifications and everyone you need for your product. And if you have done that, you end up with your product. And you see there are many steps, and it takes a lot of times. And we see that you take for the overall process for classical industrial electronic. We know this, the whole process takes 1 year approximately to do that if you just start from the green field. Then we come back, let's have a dive into the classical engineering model. It's the V model, maybe you know that if you're in engineering. Like just before you have the steps orientated like a V, so it means you start serially from the side, top down, until the implementation, and then you will do the validation step by step. And then you will end up by your end product. But this, as mentioned, takes approximately 1 year. We work like that process, of course, especially if you're going in the medical field or like that, you have to work like that because the norm gives you that for. But in the IoT field, we are more flexible and we can mix up. And there we started 3 years ago with the LoRaWAN. We see there not so many products. But everybody likes to test, but there is no product, and they don't like to develop a whole product by themselves. So the chicken-egg problem we had. And therefore, we decided we start with kind of pre-developed solutions, nearly end products, but then we can easily adapt to a final solution for the customer. And that brings you the ability to can test it on the early stage. You have nearly a final product, and then it makes it easy for us to just make small adaptations for your special needs. Just an overview of what we had. So we designed all these products. We have it. You can use it, that you can go and simple POC the device, POC your application software, whatever. And it gives you really a quick start in the market. Because then you can test your use case, be sure that it's right what you're doing, until you end up in a final product, you have no need of that. We have 30 years experience, as I told you, and we have a lot of parts we already used in several products we designed. And for us, it's kind of playing puzzle. We can just add everything together, and we end up in a product which is fitting perfectly for you, and we not have to starting from the green field until we end up in the final product. So, what does it mean? How can we improve the development time with such solutions we do have? It means what can we parallelize and how we can improve the production time. So to reach 12 weeks, as I'm showing later an example, was because the customer needed a product really close to do what we already had. And we really start sourcing nearly from the first day we had the idea of the customers. So the beginning phase, you need really time, so we have to understand what you're really needing, so you can't really improve the time, so you have to know what you want to have, what your product's looking like. But as soon as we know that, we can quickly start into the development and installation implementation phase. So it means if you have the system requirements, we can really jump directly into the real development phase. It's depending, so it means the product has to be close to a solution we already have, but then we can really do fast adaptation of that. And what's really important for us is during this implementation phase, you need really a project supervisor that has everything under control, because you have to then parallelize, ramp up the production. So you need the knowledge about how is production working, what is needed for that, what you need for certification, and you have to really quick start all the process in parallel. So it's kind of a fireworks that we can do, because we are really in a company group with also the manufacturing part, and we know how they work, and what they need and what tools they are. So we then quickly jump into implementation, and then we end up really fast into really ramping up the production. So there's always a risk, but if you are close to a product we already have developed, then we can do that really fast. So what does it mean for a company? So we are an engineering company, and our main thing is, of course, the people. So the people have to be skilled. We can't really do, you have to do everything, and you have to know how it works. And we have all competences under one house, so we can reduce time to market for that. And the important thing is always try not to do a bank robbery or try not to crack at that, because you always have to do it like it needs, not as good as possible, but as good as needed. And that's important for the engineers. They always try to do as good as they want, and it's hard to find a good middle way of developing that. Steve Jobs once mentioned, the only way to do great work is to love what you do, what you are doing. And that is what we are doing in our small company. So we have a small team. We have some experienced engineers, and we have young people, a good mix-up, and we really good collaborated with our production. But let's come to the main question. So why should I design a custom device? So there are so many devices on the market, you already know. And why should I do another one just for me? What brings that to me? That's a big question. So we had one customer in Switzerland. He did a big market research. It just needed temperature monitoring. And look outside, there are many, many devices. They already do that. You can buy from China, you can buy a cheap one. There are a lot. So they tested many devices, and they found out exactly what they need. That is not on the market, because maybe they need small adaptation of the firmware, a special housing to do that. And now it becomes a little bit stuck for him, because all these things written down, so the IP protection level, the battery lifetime he needed, and optimized transmission for the LoRaWAN, what he need. And of course, he needs a good device that he can easily roll out, so no configuring time. It should be pre-configured. He didn't find that really on the market. And that was the reason we started to build a device for him. And we help him, and we had geographical nearness, of course, and we can support him with that things, because the company, there's software-based, so they have knowledge about software, but not about the hardware. And so we came in touch with them. I had a big discussion and discussed all the stuff like that. And at the bottom line, even our device now is more expensive than the Chinese one, but he can save money in the rollout time. He had an easier adaptation, he had a good housing for that. He really had an advantage of that. So what we need, we use that platform because he needs external PT element sensor for his application. He was able to do out-of-the-box testing of his platform, because we already had the platform, we can develop the firmware on that, and we only have to do the adaptation then for his special needs and the housing he needs. So the advantage for him was, he was just out of start, we were able to do the testing from the firmware, and we are able to just quick start the production of that, because we know the BOM, we know the material which is inside, and we just had to compromise the layout that it fit into the layout that. We end up with that device, because for him it was very important how you can assemble and mount that. So we have an installation plate in the middle. He was able to even DIN rail mount it or wall mounting. He clicked the device in, and he's a good and easy opening for the battery, so he can change it easily. And he used that device in fridges for cold chain monitoring. So the device itself is really working at minus 20 degrees. Sure, the battery lifetime is a little bit shorter, then you place it outside. And if you have the possibility to place it outside, he can use external temperature sensor, and then he have longer lifetime. So he can use it just inside the fridge, it's okay, or use it with cable, and then he improve the whole lifetime. So the conclusion, why was it a good solution for him? So he had really the right part for his application, exactly fitting. He can really start out that, and we really help him in roll out the process for him. So because until now he has no really experience with the LoRaWAN, and we had a lot of support time with him to school him. What does it mean with LoRaWAN? What is possible on the protocol side? What communication cycles do you have? And we really optimized the whole things for his application. So we have kind of logging on the device, but for him it's important if the device temperature reach out of a certain level, you need immediately notification of that. And so we wrote exactly the firmware for him, which is fitting for that. So thank you very much. So we are at the booth just behind. If you have any questions, feel free, come over and have it there. Thank you very much. Have a good conference.
Well, thank you, Stefan Zimmermann. Any questions for Stefan about their implementation stuff? Yeah, over there. Ah, it's you again. Hello.
Hi. So with the parallel development, you say you get a year if you're doing the traditional V. How fast can you go with this parallel method?
So in that example, I could really show, we end up really in that 12 weeks. So the customer had in 12 weeks is 5,000 pieces, so it was really challenging. But it was only because his solution is pretty close to a solution we already have in the portfolio. So it means if you go from the green field, of course, you will end up at this 1 year approximately, really depending. But if we have one in portfolio which we can easily adapt, then you can, I think faster than 12 weeks is not really possible. That's really the maximum, but yeah.
See, Stefan, yesterday in the afternoon, version 3 of the Things Network was open sourced on GitHub. You haven't downloaded it yet, of course, but what does that mean for your company?
The open source thing, you mean? Or what?
The going to version 3.
The go to?
Version 3 of the Things Network. Or you're not going to use it?
I didn't get the question, sorry.
Oh, okay, you missed it yesterday. Well, never mind. Any other questions for Stefan? No? Okay, thank you very much. Stefan Zimmermann.